65 billboards, soon to be 80, are up in Georgia with the slogan, "Black children are an endangered species." The Georgia Right to Life and the Radiance Foundation worked together to put these billboards up. And remember what Margaret Sanger said about the need for racial purification. I wrote about it in Power to the People, and the eugenicists that supported Sanger, and that, frankly, she was a eugenicist. They believed that it was time that we needed to cull the herd of the undesirables. So they were pushing for abortion. They wanted abortion to be legal, and they wanted it to be legal for a certain reason. They wanted the culture to look a certain way so that the best of the best would survive. That's the untold story about Margaret Sanger and who she was. And, of course, Margaret Sanger gave birth to the whole that's a bad way of putting it, but the whole founder of the movement behind Planned Parenthood. And so the controversy about this billboard is amazing to me because, look, we live in a free country. You can put up billboards that aren't, as long as they're, I guess, not pornographic. And meanwhile, the people's minds are changed or they're not because of them. So why is this a controversy? Joining us now, and we're delighted she's with us, Loretta Ross is the executive director of the sister song Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective. It's a long-winded way of saying she is pro-choice, and she's joining us, and Ryan Baumberger, the co-founder of the Radiance Foundation, on why this brutally honest ad is hitting home. And we appreciate both of you joining us.
Thanks for having me on your show.
All right, let's start with you, Ryan. Why go in this direction? I mean, this is fairly provocative, and why did you decide to focus on the African American angle?
Well, first I'd like to say that this emanates from my heart for adoption. I'm adopted in a family of 15, and so this comes from that place. My biological mother was raped, so I'm very tied to this. I'm very passionate about this. And when you look at the stats released by the CDC, the disparity among the racial groups, they break them down among racial demographics, it's alarming to see the number of abortions performed on African Americans versus other races. It's 3 times that of other races. So we said, look, it's time to expose Planned Parenthood for who it is, what it was, and what it continues to be today, and that's what TooManyAborted.com is all about. And it comes from a place of exposing an industry, not attacking an individual, but exposing an industry and saying, look, they talk about comprehensive, let's show you the truth, because they're not going to tell you the truth.
Loretta, your group doesn't like these ads, and the facts are the facts. The Guttmacher Institute says that 37% of abortions happen with black women in the United States of America. There's obviously a disproportionate number here among black women. Do you find that figure to be disturbing?
Well, I need to start with my personal story, too. At 14, I became pregnant through incest and had that baby because abortion was not legal, which wasn't my idea of how to become a parent. I didn't give my son up for adoption. I ended up raising him, and 40 years later, I'm glad I did. But I did seek and have an abortion later on because at 16, also suffering sexual abuse, I needed to have control over my body. So I have every sympathy with adopted children and how they feel, but I also have lived the reality of a child who did not have control over if and when she had sex, if and when she got pregnant, and whether or not she had that child. And that still goes on today. So what disturbs me about the statistics on abortion, not that black women are having abortions or any women are having abortions, but not that they are not more available, that poor women are denied funding for their abortions.
We have 37% of all abortions happening to black women. And these are in black communities. I mean, people complain about pawn shops and liquor stores being located in black neighborhoods. Well, what about abortion clinics? And I'm going to try to get Loretta to answer my question that I asked her at the beginning here. We'll continue. Loretta Ross and Ryan Baumberger and your calls. Stay with us.
It's not the right message. It's basically picking us out and saying that we're having too many abortions, we're not using protection.
I don't know if I exactly agree with that kind of strategy that they're using. Because, I mean, just like to generalize a certain group like that kind of makes you not think too well in that organization, you know?
Those were people who are none too happy about the children are an endangered species, black children are endangered species billboards up in Georgia, sponsored in part by the Georgia Right to Life and the Radiance Foundation. And I want to remind all of you of Margaret Sanger and the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. Remember what she started. She started something called the, quote, Negro Project. She created this program in 1939 after the organization changed its name from the American Birth Control League that she worked for to the Birth Control Federation of America. And when you look at the research into what she was doing, the aim of this program was to, at the very least, restrict the black population. And this was all done under the pretense of family planning, women's health, better health. And she cleverly began to implement her plan. And a lot of prominent people, a lot of well-to-do people, a lot of elites, they supported Margaret Sanger. This was part of the racial purification which she set out with her eugenicist supporters to complete in the United States of America. People like Alveda King, the niece of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., she speaks so eloquently about this all-out assault on minority communities in the United States by Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers, locating clinics disproportionately in black and Hispanic areas, and oftentimes the so-called civil rights organizations, they say nothing because I guess the right to life is not a civil right in the United States of America. We continue